converted man here. Oh, don't worry, I didn't forget, B.S. Lewis. I said that I would do an extra spicy opening for you. So, for the rest of you who aren't B.S. Lewis, I highly advise taking off your headphones if you're wearing them, or turning down the volume, or doing something that will make it so that you don't have to hear the following. This is just for B.S. Lewis. So, Now, of course, that does make it difficult to know when to tune back in. So, it's not going to take too long. It's just maybe like 5 seconds, okay? Like, oh my god, B.S. Lewis. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, yes, nothing but professionalism here, folks. Some nerd doesn't like what Neil deGrasse Tyson said about, God and stuff, I guess. And, he plays a clip where, Neil deGrasse Tyson was asked about God, and he's like, look, if you're telling me there's an all-powerful God that's all-loving, I look around and see the suffering, then no. It's not possible. You cannot have a all-powerful, all-loving God. Okay? That's his thing. So that's what he says we don't need to do. That is what we do. We're good. We don't need the examples of suffering and pain that happened in the world. We know about that. Okay. So let's get on to the nerd.
The question is, why does God allow suffering? Well, does a star suffer when it explodes a brilliant death, scattering its elements across the cosmos?
No, stars don't have pain receptors.
Does a 500-year-old redwood suffer as the lightning-sparked flames ravage its bark and strip its foliage?
Not really sure if plants have feelings or not. Can plants feel pain? No. Maybe they feel it in their own way, though. So, maybe. I don't know. It's possible. Not sure how this answers the question, though, but okay.
The worm suffer as it dangles from the mouth of a mother bird before sliding down the gullet of a half-blind, half-naked, chirping chick.
Well, worms do kind of feel pain, but not like we do. They certainly can try to avoid danger and stuff. So, they might be experiencing pain.
But when a smiling 1-year-old babe with a congenital heart defect that never harmed a soul lives a life struggling for air, dies on a cold operating table.
Why would the operating table be cold?
We're tempted to question God's purposes. Why? Because deep down, we know we're different. We know we're set apart. We alone can ask, why? We alone can contemplate justice. We alone can imagine how things ought to be. Our very ability to question suffering, our sense that it's wrong, our demand for justice. These aren't random products of evolution.
They are products of evolution. Random is kind of a misnomer. There's a filtering mechanism in place. But yes, our ability to do various things is a result of evolution. I don't know why you had to slip that in there, but whatever. Is he a pimp or a programmer? He could be both. Blaster Master. Blaster Master! Mastering the blaster of the master. Pragmatic Crystal is also here. Crystal, oh dear. What? What's that? Hold on. My fake producer that doesn't really exist wants my attention. What? Yeah, no, I know not to flirt with her. I made a whole song about it. Nobody cared about the song? Yeah, well, an AI did it. I just wrote the lyrics, But I had a song about it. Yeah. Okay. All right. But yeah, I know. I learned my lesson. Don't worry. I'm not going to flirt with her. I'm going to flirt with Blaster Master from now on. I don't care if he's married. That never stopped me before. Oh, say the video. Do the video. All right. Anyways.
Echoes of something profound. We can conceive of justice because we're made in the image of a just creator.
That's an assumption on your part that doesn't answer the question. So we recognize what justice is, according to you, because we're made in the image of somebody that is just. So then when we ask the question, why is all this crap happening? That's based on God's own sense of justice, which means that God itself is like, why is all this crap happening? Okay, so even God doesn't know why all this crap is happening. All right. D, man. Do the video. No, I want to flirt with people. I can do both.
When we can recognize wrong because we're designed to know what's right.
No, we're not designed for anything as far as I can tell. Stop saying things. Just prove something. Solve the thing.
We can feel the weight of suffering because we are created for something better. We need to be more honest with ourselves and not hide behind technicalities. When we rage against suffering, what's the underlying assumption? We don't deserve this.
Nope, that's not the underlying assumption. The deposit of the problem of evil, which you're completely and utterly ignoring, is that a loving, powerful thing would not have the sort of pain and suffering that we have in this world. If you just substitute God for a person, it's very evident what's going on. So if you see somebody in pain, do you go help them? Or at the very least call for help? If you don't want to get personally involved, right? I mean, maybe you don't. I don't know, but most people, I think, would. I would hope that most people would do that. Well, quite a few months ago, I think maybe even last year, whatever it was, way back when, there was a minor accident near my place, and everybody rushed out to look at what was going on. Not just look at, but to assist with the people. Get them, situated, get the paramedics, whatever, and sat with them and took care of them. And I did as well, and we all tended to them and were there for them and talked to them and had compassion and care for these people. So if we were like this God, we'd be like, well, you're assuming that you deserve some love and tenderness from us, but I mean, you screwed up in your driving, so clearly you deserve this bad thing that happened to you. So I'm not going to do anything, right? No, but love is doing. It is helping. It is caring for. So what you're completely and utterly ignoring, because you have to, is the whole love part. So you're saying basically, well, we're assuming that people don't deserve the bad stuff. Okay, you just talked about a baby. How does a baby deserve to suffer and die? Explain.
Really? Look at our world. Look at our history. Look at our hearts. Every war we've waged, every environment we've poisoned, every life we've destroyed, every truth we've twisted, and we dare to stand in judgment of God's justice. That child on the operating table, their suffering breaks our hearts, and it should. But have we considered that child's pain is just one small window into the depths of what we've done to God's creation?
Oh, poor God and his creation. Oh, I feel so bad for God. Oh, little tear. Poor little God. What? I don't know. You're God. Why do you care what we do to your creation? You can make another one. You can fix it instantly. It requires absolutely no effort on your part to mend any wrong that we do. There's absolutely nothing that we can do to the world that an all-powerful being couldn't undo instantly and with no effort at all. It's not even, a thought that they have. They expend no energy on it. It's just instantly, immediately fixed. Ooh, you're poisoning my air. Well, then clean the air. But why did you put the stuff there that we could turn into poison to poison your air? That's a you problem. You put that there, and you're like, well, you're using it wrong. Well, you didn't tell us how to use it, or maybe you did and we, didn't listen, or maybe it got lost in translation. I don't know, but I don't know. It's just me. I wouldn't put it there in the first place. If you're a parent, you kind of put the dangerous chemicals locked away. You want to put them up high. The kid can't get to them. You're just saying, you try to avoid things that could cause harm. And so, it's like, the child's playing with matches that you left out, and you're like, I mean, what can I do about it? They're going to see what the consequence is. Oh, they set themselves on fire. Well, they have to deal with that consequence. Yeah, they didn't know, but, that's what they get for playing with the matches. I mean, I made the matches. I work at the match producing plant, and I fabricate the matches. So they were my matches. How dare they abuse my matches? Of course, I work at the match production plant, so I could just get more matches, and it's like not even a problem for me. But that kid has to suffer and burn because they messed with my matches. What a petty God you believe in.
The real mystery isn't why God allows suffering. The mystery is why he allows us to continue drawing breath while we are cursing his name.
Oh, God's like, oh, yeah, he's basically saying, yeah, the mystery is why God lets us live at all. God just hates us. He despises it. You're cursing my name. Get over yourself. You're God. Who cares? What, am I hurting your feelings? Then why, you knew before you even made me that I was going to do that, first of all. Secondly, your feelings can be hurt by me? Dude, you need help. You need some therapy or something. Why does it matter? Why does he care if I curse his name? And you're assuming that we're cursing his name. I don't know. Going back to that baby that you talked about, for all we know, all the doctors and nurses and the parents could have all been praying, praising God, left, right, up, down, and doesn't matter. Baby died anyways. Doctors did everything they could. Nurses did everything. Everyone did everything they could. They had him on a warm, table, not a cold one, because that's silly. But at any rate, but somebody else somewhere else cursed God's name, and that really, really upset God. So God had to let that baby die. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But the baby didn't curse God's name. Oh, well, but, you did. So the baby has to suffer and die. Because you cursed God's name. Oh, yeah. Let's just say the entire humanity, all of humanity, consistently, every day, curses God's name. I'm not sure exactly what that means. What does it mean? Jesus, damn, God, puts his dingling into the Holy Spirit's butt as he sucks Jesus off. I don't know. Whatever. That's pretty offensive, maybe. I don't know. Is that cursing God's name? Hope so. Screw you, God. How about that? You're a poopy head. Yeah. Yeah, I fart in your general direction. Why would God care? It's God. But God's just, I can't. You cursed my name. So now I have to make a baby suffer. Oh, okay. Fuck you, God.
To keep questioning his ways while we break his laws. To keep demanding our rights when we deny his authority. The mystery is why he allows us to wake up each morning to fresh mercies when we've spurned every mercy he's shown. To enjoy his good gifts when we've twisted every gift he's given. To call him unjust while his patience holds back the full measure of justice that we deserve.
Whew, boy. Man, this is like... It's like, you get captured by somebody and, they hold you in a room and, they're like, look, you deserve to be tortured. But I'm holding back that from you. So, but don't you love me? Don't you appreciate how awesome I am? I'm holding back all the torture that I should give to you. Oh, I'm so benign. I'm so wonderful. And you're like, dude, you captured me. What the bleep? Like, let me go. You deserve to be tortured, though, because you offended me. I did? Yeah, you did. You did. What did I do? Oh, you did all these things. I made this Lego city, and you knocked it over. I did? When was this? 14 years ago. Oh, I don't even remember that. Yeah, but you did it. You did it to me, and so you deserve to be tortured. That guy that's captured the person, right? They're not okay in the head, right? But then imagine that person gets out of there. They finally get rescued, whatever, and they're like telling the press about it. They've written a book, whatever. They're giving talks about it, and they're like, yeah, it was so amazing how loving that person was to not torture me. That's just amazing. Like, I totally deserve to be tortured. I don't know. I would think that that's like, dude, what the hell happened to you? Like, he broke your brain, right? Like you were there so long that your brain just broke. That's what it makes me think of, the sadistic twistedness of non-love that you are talking about. This is not love. I can't think of the terminology that I want to use. For when you like start to appreciate your captor or whatever. Stockholm syndrome. Thank you. Somebody in chat. Oh, thank you, Vesta Frege. Yeah, Stockholm syndrome. Exactly. You're loving this evil sadistic meaning. But again, like that's a it problem. That isn't loving then. That isn't caring. You're no longer talking about an all-loving God. You're talking about a sadistic God that is so pissed off at everything that it wants to just destroy us. But it's not. Why not? Just destroy us then. You want to destroy us so badly. That's not love at that point. But so you want us to suffer rather than not exist. Wow, that's pretty twisted.
The mystery is his mercy. Think about who we're talking about. The whole...
What mercy? You just talked about, you brought up the baby. I'm going to keep going back to it. Where was the mercy there? There was no mercy for that baby.
Holy God, who dwells in unapproachable light, who spoke galaxies into being, who holds every atom together by his word, the perfect judge who sees every...
Holds the atoms together with its word? Does God have to like keep talking to hold the atoms together? How does that work?
hidden thought, who knows every secret sin, who measures the hearts of men, the one who could speak and our whole world would cease to exist.
Well, I'm not even sure that God would have to speak. And it's just like decide that the world doesn't exist. But okay, so it has all these powers or whatever. So what? It is not a loving being that you're talking about. That is crystal clear to us non-believers, and you know his comment section says much the same. So, you know, it's just it's so twisted. This version of God that you're arguing for is not a loving God. It is a angry God who's holding back, destroying us all, out of what it thinks love is, but it's not love, and so it knows that we're going to suffer. And not only that, but of course we haven't even gotten to the whole heaven hell thing. Jeez, just all right, yeah. But you're not. I noticed one thing also. You haven't solved this problem that you thought Neil deGrasse Tyson had. Again, don't know why he mentions that he's a programmer. Like that's in his look, solved by a Christian programmer. What does it mean to be a Christian programmer? Can't you just be a programmer? Like, how do you program in Christian? Do you like go 4 cross equals 1 to 10 next cross? And see, now if you were a programmer, you'll understand that that's actually a command in basic beginner's all-purpose symbolic construction code. I'm a nerd. Anyways, so it's 4t equals 1 to 10 next t. That's a 4 next loop. But you say cross instead of t because you're a Christian. And like, I don't know, you like go to blood. Like maybe blood is like you know, a syntax of some sort. Like, you know, character string equals blood. Yeah. That, and then like, and like sin. Well, sin is actually a thing in computer programming. So there you go, man. So actually start. The more I talk about it, the more it kind of makes sense. I think you could make a programming language based on Jesus or Christianity. Yeah, it'd be great. We call it God Assembly. Yeah, there you go. And there'd be like Christ Sharp or like Holy Writer. I don't know. All right. Anyways,
Who could breathe, and we would dissolve into nothing.
wait, God breathes? How does God breathe?
He looks at his rebellious creation, at our clenched fists and our accusations, at our demands for rights we forfeited, at our hearts still bent on rebellion. And instead of immediate judgment,
Now, why are our hearts bent on rebellion? What the hell are we rebelling against, anyways? God's commands? What were those again? Anyways, there's 613 of them in the Judeo-Christian Bible, but let's take it a step back. So, okay, God wants us to do stuff, right? Or not do stuff, and says, okay, do this, don't do this. And we're like, I'm going to do it anyways. God's like, how dare you? Why would God care? Like, why would it matter to God that we didn't obey what it wanted? Did it give us a reason to obey? Did it justify it? Did it give us an argument? Or no. Certainly not in the Judeo-Christian Bible. You don't see evidence of that. You see a God that orders its creation to do something, and then they don't, but they don't even know that not following the command is a bad thing because they don't know what good or bad is. So the whole thing doesn't make sense from the get-go. But even after all that, let's just say you don't have the Adam and Eve story. You just have a person that comes into existence. What are they rebelling against? Because God isn't obvious. It isn't telling people what to do immediately. They don't know what they're supposed to do or not to do. But again, I gotta go back to the baby you brought up. That baby was given no chance to do anything other than suffer and die. So your whole idea, like, well, other people are rebelling or whatever, okay, take it out on them. Why take it out on that? So that means then God stopped holding back its judgment on that baby because somebody somewhere else irritated God. God's an asshole.
He stoops down. He draws near. He enters our suffering. He chooses patience while we deserve wrath.
I think everything you're saying is the ass backwards thing that you actually should be saying.
He chooses mercy when we deserve judgment.
Okay, well, we deserve judgment. Did the baby deserve judgment? Because, like, I could see an argument being made that I deserve judgment. But what I've done or haven't done that offends or upsets God should only affect me and nobody else. But it affects everyone, and not just other humans, but animals and trees and worms and insects, everything that's alive. And you said stars exploding. Like, I don't know if they can hurt, but there might have been a better way than having stars explode to make stuff. Like, that's so weird too. Like, why does God have stars explode to make more stuff? Like, why doesn't God just make all the stuff that's needed? Why exploding stars at all? Why is that a thing? What cosmic purpose is there in exploding stars? Well, they're not suffering. Yeah, well, but there's no need for it, right? Like, whatever.
He chooses redemption when we deserve condemnation. This is what Paul reveals to us in Romans 9. He says that God endures vessels of wrath with much patience.
When it comes to Paul, I care less about Paul than I do the rest of the Bible. And I already don't care about the Bible. But I really don't care what Paul said, because Paul, in my view, is the first apologist. He came along, he made up a story to convince people that he was something else. Oh, I saw Jesus. Yeah, sure he did, Paul. You liar. And he said that, and people believed him, and then he tried to boss people around. Now, Paul sent letters to these churches. Did they send anything back? Do we have those letters? How did that, what happened to those letters? Why did those churches save it? Why did they care about Paul? Also, here's an interesting thing, and maybe I missed something or forgotten it, but Paul saw Jesus, right? So what's to stop somebody else from saying that they also saw Jesus? Like, if Paul can claim that happened way back then, can't anybody claim that happened now? What is to stop somebody saying that they saw Jesus and then say, well, now I have authority because I talked to Jesus, which is basically what Paul did. He made up shit. That's what makes Paul the first apologist, in my view. Anyways, so who cares what Paul says?
Not because he's weak, not because he's unsure, not because he cannot act, but why? To make known the riches of his glory for vessels of mercy.
Incoherent idea is incoherent in full. Like, what? What does this have to do with anything again? How does this explain anything? Why does God have to prove how cool it is all the time? Like, look at what I'm doing. I'm so cool. See, doesn't this prove how cool I am? No! You just look like a jerk. But again, this is Paul talking, so he's just making up shit. Unless it's not Paul. Then it's somebody else making up shit. And somebody somewhere is making up some shit. Stop making up shit. Shit.
You understand what this means. Every moment God restrains his judgment, every breath he grants to those who mock him, every season he allows evil to persist. It's all serving his greater purpose.
Every moment that God lets evil exist is all for the greater purpose that God has. God needs to have evil. God is so weak and pathetic that it needs evil to do maximal good. Your God is not an all-powerful God. Your God is a weak and pathetic God that relies on evil to get better good eventually, at some point, supposedly, hypothetically. The Jewish God, now see, there's a difference between Yahweh, Old Testament Yahweh, and the Christian version of Yahweh. There is a bit of a difference. The Old Testament outlines that the Savior, when they come, will fix the world and make this world awesome. And then everybody will come back that's been dead. And they'll come back and it'll be like prosperous enough to feed everyone or whatever, accommodate all those people, because that'd be a lot of people coming back. But I guess also you'd have to deal with all the diseases that the people had and make them younger and fix all their diseases, and there's some logistics involved. But at any rate, so the bad stuff, right? Like in the Jewish thing, it's like there's no real answer for why things are bad. You're just told God does good and bad, or bad and good can fall on anybody, and it just is. And that's not really, it's not that God necessarily cares in that sense. And that, but it does, but in the end, it will all be made right, you know? So you have that. It's a little bit different than the Judeo-Christian version. Because the Judeo-Christian version, in the Jewish version, everybody comes back, I think. I'm not really sure, but it seems like it. If you're Jewish, you're judged under certain laws. If you're not Jewish, you're judged under different laws. So that makes sense. But the Christians are like, no, you're judged guilty until you get your get out of hell free card, which is accepting this nonsense about Jesus dying for your sin. So there's a difference between those two gods. Now, Allah is a totally different thing altogether, because you have to do some stuff to get Allah's favor, you know. And I'm not sure what the women get, but the men get a whole bunch of virgins. Like, I'm not sure why you would want virgins, but you get them. And I'm not sure where all the women virgins are coming from. Like, are they created for them? I don't know. Then you got the Mormon view. Now, the Mormons kind of like the Mormon idea. God is incompetent. That's why things are bad. God's incompetent because he was once immortal like us. If we do enough good stuff, eventually we'll become a god of our own planet or universe. I'm not really clear which. That's pretty cool. It's nonsense, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I could see that. But of course, then if that was true, then since I'm a god, if I worked hard enough, then couldn't I send a message to myself now in the past so I know to join the Mormon Church? So then, since that didn't happen, then I must have not worked hard enough to become a god, so it's not worth my time doing it. Or I'm not powerful enough to send that message, which means I'm not really that powerful of a god, anyways, and it's still not worth my time to join the Mormon Church. I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent, but it was just better than listening to him justify the evils of his evil god.
The display of his glory in saving unworthy sinners. So when we look at that struggling infant, when we witness devastating disease, when we feel crushing loss, these are not random accidents. These are not proof of God's absence. These are not evidence of his indifference. They are reminders of our condition.
Wow. That suffering infant is a reminder of our condition. I don't need a reminder. I'm perfectly aware of my condition. God, your God, this guy's version of God, is a sadistic asshole. Big old bully who we need to figure out how to destroy once and for all. We need to make some sort of weapon. We need to get this thing. We need to take this thing out. It is not a God that is good. It is not a God that is loving. And is certainly not a God worthy of worship. And thankfully, it's not even a God at all. Because it's all made up. And I can say that with utmost confidence. Because the God outlined in the Judeo-Christian Bible is not the God he's talking about. I don't even recognize this God. This is a flip on the script of the going on God's judgment rather than mercy. He's combined the elements of other apologetics in there too, but this is the fire and brimstone God, the more judgmental God. And there's churches that focus on that. And people like those churches. They get a kick out of that sort of like, you deserve bad stuff. I can't deal with that. I don't like that. The more, nice, forgiving God, that's more acceptable, more palatable, right? But you have to have both in there. And there's this push and pull created over time in this religion, either deliberately or accidentally, combination thereof, kind of evolutionary advantages to certain types of story over other types of story, if you will. So the push and pull of it's good, but it's judgmental, it's good, it loves you, but it's judging you, that's all deliberate. It's all deliberate to keep your mind locked into the belief system. And this guy's just desperately trying to justify God doing bad stuff. To Neil deGrasse Tyson said, that's not a loving God. You're saying I agree, and it doesn't matter. Because I'm not describing a loving God. The sort of God that you're describing, the sort of love that you think that this God has is nothing like the love that I think about when I think of the word love. Compassion, generosity, kinship, cuddling, time together, acts of servitude, being there, talking, listening, smiling at each other, laughing, being together, helping. this is not any of the things that I consider love. This is twisted and vile and repugnant. So I think that's enough from this guy, because he's not going to say anything of value in the next few minutes that he hasn't already said, and I'll just be repeating myself. So we're done with him. I'm done with him. That's it. I'm done. All right. Well, that's all I got for you this time, I guess. His God is evil, and he didn't fix anything. And I don't know why he mentioned a programmer. That really just, like, bothers me for no reason. Like, why are you a Christian programmer? Answer me, person. Yeah, the Zoroastrian idea. Zoroastrianism is more interesting. I don't know about original sin being in Zoroastrianism. I might have to look into it again, but I if I'm right about Zoroastrianism, it's more like the good that you do, if it outweighs the bad that you do, then you go to the good place. And it's not, you don't have to believe in anything for that to happen. It's just that's what happens. But original sin might have been a concept that came from it. I don't know, offhand. Yeah, but all religions come from prior other religions. All these ideas are there's no new idea. It's so weird. Like, if you, just to go off on a little little tangent, to just to get this out because I want to. It's interesting that no idea that you can think of is really new. Like, it's based on something. Like, you can't make a completely new thing. And I've tried. Like, I'm like, no. I'm going to make, like, a completely new thing that's not based on anything. But it can't be done. It just can't. Like, it's always like you're like, I'm gonna draw this like weird shape, and like, well, it's based on a shape, so you can't get away from it. Anyways, I don't know. Randomness. All right. So what did we learn today? Gospel Nerd doesn't solve anything. His version of God is evil. And that's another argument that's out there, that God is actually evil. And the good that we see it must be allowed for that evil God to do maximum amount of evil. And that's a reductio ad absurdum of a good God letting bad things happen, is the evil God letting good things happen. And the arguments, as far as you can tell, both work. So that must mean that there's something wrong with the argument. The argument sucks. And the way that to detect an argument sucking or not is to learn informal logic. So do that. And until next time, stay skeptical, and after that, remain skeptical. Laters. Also to B.S. Lewis. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Anyways, thanks to Beamon. There's no way in the world I'm pronouncing that last name. Oh, wait. B movie. Watashi Matsude. Yeah. Anyways. And Blaster Master and Vesta. And Pragmatic Crystal. And thank you all for being in the chat. Now I'm done. All right.